So, actual events of the Battle of Marathon, 490 BC. We're going to learn the events of the battle to understand what we do not know and to develop some more Herodotus skills. So when I say learn the events of the battle, I mean one version of them. As you probably picked up by now, we're not entirely sure exactly all the details of the Battle of Marathon. So I'm going to run through one possible way it all happened, and we'll talk about evidence later on. Keyword, standoff and stalemate. Nobody knows what to do next in a fight. If both sides are equal, blah, blah, blah. It's a stalemate. It's a standoff. Who's going to blink first? Infantry, cavalry, archers. Miltiades, Callimachos. Rotation. Rotation. If you move around, if you rotate. Embark. Embark. You get onto a ship, is embark. Elite, charge, range. Double envelopment. To surround somebody from two sides is a double envelopment. Okay, let's start. Depending on who you believe. Either the Greeks in blue here are blocking the valley and the Persians line up with their backs to the sea, or my personal view on it, having read, is more like the Persians line up anchored to the sea, the Greeks parallel to them. It orientate. You can rotate it either way you want. Historians believe both possible. But essentially, it's who will blink first. Who's going to attack first? Both have got problems. The Greeks need to defeat the Persians, perhaps. The Persians need to defeat the Greeks. The Persians need to get off that beach to attack Athens. Yeah. But the Greeks can't attack them, so they go onto the plain. They'll be surrounded by Persian cavalry. So it's a stalemate. Both sides, for about 5 days, both sides stay in position. Neither one wants to fight. Especially the Athenians. They've blocked the Persians, and they're now waiting for the Spartan reinforcements. Now, Herodotus tells us that this is when a lot of arguments take place between different Athenian generals. 10 generals, plus Callimachos, the war archon, are arguing about what to do. Miltiades and 4 others want to attack, 5 want to defend. And they rotate the generalship. They rotate who's in charge every day, and they argue. We talked about that last lesson. Herodotus managed to convince Callimachos, the war archon, to vote in favour of attacking. A lot of historians doubt this. They doubt that it's possible that on the battlefield, the Athenians would have divided the command that way, but that's what Herodotus says, so decide for yourself. Now, at some point, the Athenians look like they decided to attack. Now, why? Herodotus gives us no real clue, but other sources say it's to do with the Persian cavalry. Other sources say Ionian deserters, Greeks working for the Persians, take it over to the Greeks and say, look, the Persian cavalry is embarking. The cavalry are away, is the phrase. The cavalry are gone. The cavalry have got back on the ships to attack Athens. And Miltiades thinks this is our chance. The cavalry aren't there. It's just Persian infantry. It's Greek infantry against Persian infantry. Now's the time to attack. Which leads us to the famous idea of the Athenian charge. Herodotus says the first time the Greeks ever ran into battle. We did from our work in the corridor, we know it's extremely unlikely that the Athenians ran in full armor. It's called a panoply. Ran in full panoply for a mile, 8 stages. More likely they charged the last couple hundred meters when they were in range of the Persian archers. We do know a massive battle ensued. It looks like in the center of the Persian line it was the best Persian infantry. They're elite. There's Persians and the Sakai, Scythians. Yeah, and they were proper heavy infantry, though not as heavy as the Greek infantry. On the flanks, the Persians had their archers. The Greek deployment was the opposite. They had their weakest forces in the middle, 4 deep, and much deeper phalanxes on the edges. So when the battle began, it looks like the Persians were pushing the Athenians back in the center, but on the edges, on the flanks, the Athenians routed, completely routed is the word, the Persian army. And then perhaps a double envelopment took place. Now, what we don't know is, was this a plan by Miltiades, or was it an accident? Yeah? Did Miltiades plan this? He knew how the Persians would fight, or did it just happen that way? We don't know. Herodotus is not really very certain on this. Nike, final victory. After the Persians flee back to the ships, the Greeks pursue them. Of the famous incident of the Athenian while trying to pull back the Persian ships, get his arm cut off. Yeah. But basically, it's Nike, victory. The Persians run, they get back on the ships, and they leave, and they head back to Athens, or they head to Athens.